Once upon a time, there lived a woman called Iya Basira. She was a village cook and the best in her community. Although she didn't have a very large space at her buka, but it was always filled to the brim with young men, old men, and even children who gathered together to wash their own plates just to have a taste of her meals. It also got to a point where most men stopped eating the foods made by their wives, and no matter how early or late it was, they made it a habit of always being at Iya Basira's joints. BC, one of the wives of the man who usually goes to Iya Basira's buka, decided to enroll for an internship program at the buka in order to get the recipe to such delicious meals that was made by Iya Basira in order to stop her husband from always eating at the buka. She watched as Iya Basira put in every single ingredient and took note of them. But there was one ingredient she was sure she had not seen in any of the shop around or even in the markets, and that ingredient was unnamed, unlike the others. On one fateful day, a group of women marched towards the buka as they had had enough of Iya Basira, who made their husbands stop eating their food, and also heard a lot of rumors that some of the men had started having issues on who was going to marry Iya Basira. While the arguments were ongoing, Iya Basira rushed outside to speak to the angry women and in fact tell them she had no interest in any of their husbands, and all she wanted was to run her business and didn't want any man to pull her backwards. While Iya Basira was busy addressing the angry women, Bisi rushed back into the kitchen to see and examine the ingredients that Iya Basira was hiding from them all this while. As she pulled out the keg, she discovered it was filled with blood. As soon as she touched it, trying to imagine why Iya Basira was adding blood to the food, she had a vivid vision of Iya Basira removing a blood-filled cloth from in between her legs and squeezing it into a calabash and then filling it into a keg afterwards. After the vision, she put back the keg and left the kitchen, pretending not to have gone into the kitchen. Iya Basira, on the other hand, went into the kitchen to continue with cooking her food. BC, trembling with fear for what she has seen and hoping that she doesn't get caught by Iya Basira, she picked up her bag and told Iya Basira that she was feeling very lightheaded and needed to go home and get some rest. Iya Basira granted her permission to go home as she thought that the job had taken a toll on her health. After all, it had been a very busy day. Bixie, on the other hand, ran straight to the village king to tell him what she had seen and how Iya Basira uses her menstrual periods to cook food for the villagers to consume. Soon, words begins to spread round the village and Iya Basira was summoned by the king. When Iya Basira was asked why she committed such atrocities, her reply was that since she couldn't find love, she decided to put a dent in the relationship of the villagers. Thus, she got a charm from the juju priest who told her to use her menstrual blood to keep them coming back to her buka, thus making the wives miserable and unhappy. Iya Basira was banished from the village, and after she left the village, all the men came back to their senses. This is the end of Iya Basira, the evil cook.